I'm Vicki Davis, Martin County Supervisor of Elections. Thank you for joining us for Project Vote History. Local residents reflect on cherished memories they have gained over the years regarding public service, the election process, and the importance of voting. Joining me today is Frank Wacha Jr. Hi Frank, thanks for joining us.
Hi Vicki, nice to be here with you.
It's a pleasure, and I know you were born and raised here in Martin County, native Martin Countian, and you've seen changes over the years with the voting process, but your dad served for many years as a commissioner here in Martin County. And can you share any memories that you might have of Dad having served in that public service capacity?
Yeah, I remember that when my dad first got on the commission, which I believe was in the 60s, I'm not positive, he had come down, he had met my mom in college, and he had come down here, and he was a CPA, and then he just started getting very involved in politics, partially I think because my family has been involved in politics for a long time. And in fact, my grandfather is in one of the pictures that you see of Governor Martin signing the document, and he was one of the lobbyists that got the Martin County actually formed. But my dad, he's instituted a tie policy for county commissioners when he came down. And basically what I remember was, although commissioners disagreed, they were very civil to each other. Mm-hmm. They didn't go after each other. There wasn't a lot of things. They genuinely tried to do what was best for the citizens of Martin County.
And looking back on history, your dad's voter registration records and comparing it to yours, I noticed that Dad registered to vote in 1950 here in Martin County. You registered in the early 70s, and I noted with both of you that you never have missed an election. Dad never missed an election, and during the 50s through the 70s and on into the 80s, we had primaries, and then we had a second primary with runoffs. And you and Dad both voted in every election. How was he a model for you?
Well, it's really important. He instilled in both, our whole family, and it was kind of a family thing, that it's important to be involved in your government if you wanted it to generally do the things that you wanted it to do.
Yeah. And you mentioned that Dad had tremendous influence on tide policy here in Martin County, correct?
Yes.
He also was very influential with the 4-story limit in Martin County. Any other policies that come to mind that are in place today and probably a part of the comp plan that we live under, and the comp plan helps make Martin County such a great place to live and work and play?
Well, he actually, even before the 4-story height limit, he was involved in the county, and Martin County, I believe, was one of the early counties to actually have zoning ordinances at all. And he and Tom Higgins was the development, or I guess it was planning and zoning department director back then. Mm-hmm. And they actually wrote what was kind of the beginning of all the zoning. And as the development pressures grew, Dad believed that we needed to protect what we all enjoyed about our county. So he was involved trying to make sure that not only were there opportunities for children here to stay here and work, but that also there was not going to be an overdevelopment to where suddenly we would become a county that we really didn't want to be.
Growing up as the son of a county commissioner in Martin County, it was very small back in the 60s, 70s, the county was, population-wise. Did that have an effect on you, or any relationship building or anything like that here in Martin County?
Other than just my general growing up feeling like we were all part of our community, mm-hmm. Probably not, and I probably embarrassed my dad on numerous occasions because of just the things that youth sometimes do. So.
But I'm sure you could tell us some great stories. I have to share with the audience that Frank, his brother Warner, and I were in the same high school class, so we were in school at just about at the same time, really. You were a couple classes ahead of Warner and I, so going back and remembering you and Warner and the guys were always at the beach surfing. You grew up that way, and so you've seen a lot of changes here in Martin County, and not only through government but structurally and just the physical makeup and infill of Martin County. And how important is that to you?
Well, it's real important, and in fact, Martin County kind of grew very similar to what counties to the north and south of us did, except for we took it more serious to try to have our small town feel and our that particular community feeling. But one of the things that occurred as the county was growing like everywhere else was that the development pressures became more national and stuff in our local downtowns, which we had every community, historic community in Martin County had its own little downtown. Really began to suffer, and it was kind of came to a head including Stewart, which was our county seat.
Yes.
And it all kind of came to the head in the early, probably, now I guess it would be the late 1980s and early 1990s, that our towns just had deteriorated and were empty of stores, and it was
I remember.
a great pressure there. And so at that point, the county began also realizing we also had to protect our heritage more, not just our land, but we also needed to create a scenario where we could begin to protect our heritage again.
Yes, I agree with that, and I remember downtown Stewart with empty storefronts, and the Lyric Theater had deteriorated a bit and changed ownership many times over. And you started serving on the local planning agency for the county. How long have you served on the LPA board?
I was on the LPA, I believe it was in 19 or maybe 2000.
2000.
I think it was something like that. But we started the CRA for Martin County. The city of Stewart had a kind of a parallel path, but we started that back for only Jensen because we were devastated just like Stewart back in the early 1990s or mid-1990s that we actually formed it.
Yeah,
and it's worked. I mean, the process has worked. Obviously, Stewart is just a booming success because it is a city and it has actually directed the proper resources to creating a wonderful place that we all like to go to. I'm also on the Stewart CRB board, the Community Redevelopment Board there.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts and memories of growing up in Martin County, and Dad is having served as a county commissioner for so many years. I appreciate you being here, sharing those thoughts. I'm Vicki Davis. Thank you for joining us for an episode of Project Vote History.